Hey friends, in this episode of the Holy Surrender podcast, I am sitting down with my friend Laura Bevis, who runs NAP Ministries. She has an amazing story of transformation with the Lord and how it led her to street evangelization, which is a powerhouse way to share the Lord's love with others. I cannot wait for you to hear her story. It is one about going where the Lord leads you and knowing that no matter where He leads you, He's going to form you for the mission ahead, which is something that we could all remember, is that even when things don't seem like they should be going a certain way, God is constantly using it to write our story, to write our testimony, and to get us where we need to go. So, stay tuned for this. Ask the Lord to highlight to you what you need to take away from this story of surrender. And be sure to subscribe to our magazine for exclusive interviews and background on her ministry, as well as your key takeaways and a little bit more about our guest. I can't wait to share with you this story of surrender. I'm very excited for this conversation because street evangelization is not my thing. And I want to learn more about it because it's not it's not my strength. But I feel like there are probably people who listen to this who might have that draw, and so I want them to know where they can go to do that. As I said, I think I mostly know of you from my mom, but we've interacted a couple times, and yeah, I really want to know a little bit about your personal journey with the Lord, because I know you've been through Encounter, right? Mm-hmm. And how that led you to street evangelization.
Yeah, kind of a long story. So I grew up in New England as a Catholic, and up there you just go to Mass on Sunday and that's it. You don't have a rosary, you don't have a Bible, you don't do anything. Huh. You do very little church activities together. And then I traveled in the Air Force and did lots of things. And then I went to graduate school at Catholic University of America. And helping to pay my tuition, I was the nurse assigned to the Shrine of the Immaculate Conception. Wow. So my job was to be there whenever dignitaries were there. So we'd have all the bishops in and cardinals and all this stuff, but we had Mother Teresa. And I was her nurse for a day.
Wow.
I think I look back and I probably didn't realize how what greatness I was in. But it was truly a blessing being there, and I know she blessed me at that time. And I think it kind of falls into where I ended up now. So that was a long time ago. That was in the 80s. And after I graduated from Catholic University, I left the Catholic faith. And I don't know why. I think the Lord had me on a journey for a while, and I went Lutheran and then Methodist for quite a while. Learned a lot more about the Bible and about Holy Spirit and just a different approach to faith. And then in 2005, January, my husband was deployed to Iraq, and he called me and he said, I had my dog tags made and I put Catholic. And I'm like, so we're Catholic now? And he goes, yes. I was like, okay, I guess I'll go to St. Francis and talk to them. And that's how it happened. So we went back to St. Francis, and the kids went to school there, and had a great priest. Talked to him about coming back into the church, and he was like, you don't need RCIA. You've been in graduate school. Everything is Catholic in your whole life. So I started developing a new love for the Catholic faith. And I remember, I don't know if you knew Father Drew Hyman. He was here.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
He is awesome priest. But I remember walking across the parking lot at St. Francis with him. And he goes, so how's it going getting back into the faith? And I'm like, I'm doing pretty good, but I don't understand this Mary thing. And he looks at me and he goes, Mama Mary, you don't understand Mary? And, just started counseling me on Mary and the Rosary. And I had a really good friend, Kathleen, who is devout Catholic, baby cradle Catholic from the Midwest, and kind of helped me along in my journey. And then back in 2018, before COVID, a friend of mine asked me to be on his board of directors for ICT medical team. Mm-hmm. And I said, sure, I'll be on the board of directors. I don't know what you do, but I'll go. And then we had to spend a day doing what they do. And I was like, oh, well, I really like this. And it was you taking care of the homeless on the street. And we provide all their medical care, all their medication for free, and really saved people from going to the ER. We were always there. So we went every Thursday night and had staff and taking care of people. And I really started falling in love with working with that population. Mm-hmm. And then COVID came. Very difficult time on the street. And made it through that. And then about 2022, I was actually going to the Latin Mass. During COVID, I went to the Latin church. It was great. No masks, shoulder to shoulder. Nobody cared about COVID. It was great. So I was at going to the Latin church, and it was like I kept getting that the Lord wanted me to know more about intercessory prayer. And it's like looking around, what can I read, what can I do? And then a friend of mine called and said, hey, I'm going to this new school in Wichita called Encounter, and I was wondering if you want to go with me. I'm like, do they do intercessory prayer? She's like, sure. I'm like, okay, I'll go. So I went. In the first 2 weeks, I sat in the back with my arms crossed going, these people are nuts. What am I going to do here? And the third week, though, I was leaving from Medjugorje. I had never gone before. And I fell and hurt my ankle. It was a high ankle sprain. I could not walk on it. And Aaron and David, after class, prayed over my ankle, and I walked out of there.
Wow.
And I had complete healing, and
Praise
I was
God.
leaving from Medjugorje. So it was perfect timing on the Lord, of course. And so I really think two crucial pieces in my life was Mother Teresa and Medjugorje.
Yeah.
And then Encounter. So went to Medjugorje, had an unbelievable experience there. Just my growth in faith was just boosted incredibly. Came back, went back to Encounter, started getting into how they do things, and was in a really good group, and that group really helped me grow. And over the 2 years, I mean, going from a Latin Mass person sitting in the back of the class to leading now prayer in the front of everybody is quite the dramatic change. But during our second year, so I hadn't been doing the street medical for 2 years. The Lord was like, well, for your project, I want you back on the street. And I'm like, I don't want to go back on the street. I don't want to do medicine. And he goes, no, you're going to pray. I'm like, okay, where am I going? And he says, just go back down there and put out a sign. So that's what we did, Thanksgiving of 23.
Sometimes he's a little hazy on the details.
Yeah.
He's like, go do this thing. You're like, great.
Yeah. But
what does that mean?
What does it mean?
He's like,
right.
You'll find out.
It was the week before Thanksgiving in 2023, and there were 4 of us who went down there and opened up the back of my car, put out a sign that said, need a prayer. We didn't have a name for what we did. And we had 7 people come up to us, just walking across the parking lot asking us for prayer.
Wow.
And then we were like, this is good. This is what we need to do. So I was like, all right, Lord, we'll do this once a month. We'll come out here. We're sitting right next to the clinic I used to run, in the same parking lot. So I knew everybody, and I knew a lot of the homeless already. And the Lord was like, no, you're going to go every week. And I'm like, really? And that's where it started. So I'd say the biggest faith journey was those 3 things, and then the Encounter.
Wow. Yeah, encountering Mother Teresa would totally, like, just her presence would probably ooze ending up in street. That was totally a God thing. Like,
Absolutely.
I know where you're going to be. And
Absolutely a God thing. Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that's what
amazing.
She did. Yeah, so my board of directors is Mother Teresa, St. Padre Pio, John Paul.
Powerhouses right there.
Yeah.
Ours is a little bigger, but we've got, I think we've got Gemma Galgani and St. Anthony of Padua and St. Gianna. She's a big one. She always inspires me with her ability to balance work and family life.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm working through right now. So I really want to know also, how have you seen God's presence in this ministry? Yeah.
So, it's been an amazing journey. The first few months, I had experience with the homeless, so I kind of knew how to do boundaries and how to interact with people. But what really threw me was how much more the homeless that came to see us knew about the Bible and about faith than I did.
Wow.
And they would just blow your socks off. So that was a big learning curve. And just trying to interact with them and trust in the Lord in our prayers. And so our faith of... Safety was never an issue for me, but everybody knew to the street. That was always a question for them. But I always knew we were fine.
That's a confidence that only certain people have. That, like, Mother Teresa had. That only certain people have been gifted. That they're totally shielded by God. We are here to do this.
No questions at all. Now, my husband and my partner, Becky, her husband, they had different theory, and they said, we'll be there. So they come down, and they're in charge of the stuff, and they hand it to us when we ask for it. But how is my faith? I mean, I think the biggest thing that's happened is how much the Lord has blown me away with the things that have gone on down there. And how many people that we have encountered that we brought back to Christ, or they've come off the street, they're off drugs, they found housing, they got jobs, they're not suicidal. I mean, it's just story after story, and you just sit there going, Lord, this is just incredible.
It is.
And He's sent his angels down. We've had encounters, and it's just been beautiful. And nap, so it's nap with blankets, meaning need a prayer. That's how easy. We had need a prayer as our sign, so it became nap. He's just done tremendous things for a lot of people, and we've been there 2 years. We've missed twice in the 2 years. We're ecumenical because we are in a parking lot that's owned by the Episcopal Church, so they let us be there. But they've allowed us to hand out sacramentals, so that's been nice. And we hand out Bibles. I go through probably 200 Bibles a quarter.
Wow.
We give out crucifixes and miraculous medals. A lot of homeless walking around with miraculous medals. And whatever else I get donated. And then we give them stuff too. So like tarps and blankets and sleeping bags, that kind of thing. But yeah, he's blown me away with the power that he has over not just our safety, but in our prayers, and how our prayers have worked, and how people have changed. We recently had the Franciscans came down to check us out, and at the end they were actually talking to your mom about, I've never heard anybody pray like this. How do you guys know how to pray like this? We're just not used to that. And it was just very overwhelming to have that experience with them there. We've had a couple priests come down, and the people just flock to the priests. We've had pastors come down, and they're the same. I mean, it's just, we invite them all down. and people want to get baptized. People want, they're like, I want to be saved. I want to repent. I want to change my life. How do I do that? So
that's incredibly beautiful.
Yeah, we right away the Lord said, you will not do deliverance ministry down here. And I understood that right away because there are so many demons in that parking lot. You've got over 200 homeless every Thursday night. And so they know, though, there's a street code. So they know if they're in that parking lot, they have to behave. And if not, they're kicked out and they can never come back. So it's usually pretty good. If there's issue, we have people that respond. So, and it's usually taken care of. But yeah, that's my faith has just been blown away by how good he is and how many people he has saved.
Wow. And so what is your hope for this in the future? Do you just want this to just keep growing and hopefully like serve as many people as possible, or how do you see this going?
I think that for Nap with Blankets is really designed to be just in that setting. And so there's another group, the St. Paul Evangelization group, where they go out and do street ministry, and it's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. They set up a table and they invite people to come over and talk to them, and they tell them about Jesus, where we're doing, I always call it filtered homeless, because I have a sign saying, we're going to pray with you. So if you come in my line, we're going to pray. And so it's a different kind of ministry than what they're doing, or with other people that might just walk down the street and start talking to people. It's different. So it really belongs where it's at. And I think that one of my goals is to have more people as prayer warriors so that they get that experience. Because some people are just so afraid to come downtown or afraid to talk to a homeless person because they don't know. They don't know what they're dealing with. And people have their own ideas of what a homeless person is like. And
I'd say that's one of my barriers to entry is that unknown element for sure.
Yeah, it's unknown. And every person is unknown.
This is true.
That comes up to you. But again, they're in my line. If they don't want to be prayed with, they're in the hot dog line. So, we do get a mixture though. I mean, I've prayed with people that are Jewish and Muslim. I have a guy I've had for 2 years who is a Wiccan, and he lets me pray Jesus over him every week.
Wow.
And yeah, things change and you learn and you grow and you get challenged. Demons will manifest and you just tell them to go away. But it's the Lord's always in control. I have no fear whatsoever. Actually, I remember one of my friends who has not gone through Encounter, she prays with us. And we had this guy right up, this was early on in the first few months. He came up on his bicycle and he put his arms out and he goes, I need you to pray with me. I have demons. And she looked at me with big wide eyes like, what do I do? And I'm like, demons? No problem. We'll pray through them. Let's just go. And we started praying and she's just like, she calmed right down. Now she's the one doing that. She's just like, oh, no big deal. We can do that.
It takes the holy boldness of someone who is confident, I think, though, sometimes to get you into the right headspace of, oh, okay, he really is. He's really got this. And if he's really calling me to be here right now, it's a big deal. Like, we had so much chaos trying to get here to record these podcasts, to have these conversations. And I was like, okay, we're going to do some great stuff tonight.
For sure. I think that, you can walk. There are nights where it seems like things are more agitated than others. And now I have enough teams that I stay back and I pray over the line and then look to see where the agitation is so I can go in and deal with it. Because early on, I would have people that aren't used to being there and they'd be like, Laura, we need you to come over here and pray with this one, because there's this going on. And now they're all well-tuned. Everybody knows how to handle things. And so I sit back and I pray over the line because there are some nights that it's more agitated than others.
Yeah.
The night that the Capuchins came was crazy. It was like I think the demons were all let out and sent down there. It was nuts.
Probably because you had
Because we
very
had
holy
them there.
friends.
Yeah, I mean, they brought holiness and hell came. So it was crazy.
As further proof that holiness was there.
Absolutely. So, yeah.
All this requires surrender on your part. Like, do you feel that draw to step back, or just as the leader that kind of comes in? What part of this is, I feel like street ministry probably requires a lot of surrender, but I'm really curious how that plays into your ministry and what you feel like you have to constantly give to the Lord in order to live out this mission.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is no fear. I have no fear. I figure if I die down there, I'm dying a martyr. So I'm not worried.
I suppose that's a good point. That would just expedite the canonization process, too.
Absolutely. I just have never had fear going down there. And I've had people new come in to pray with us, and I can tell they're terrified. And so, I always match people up with an experienced person and a new person. But sometimes they need a little bit more than just that. So I can tell. I think that's the biggest thing, is I don't have any fear at all.
Interesting.
And I think that he absolutely gives that to me. I have friends that are much more gifted than I am in discernment of what's going on. And like I had one night where my friend, there was a guy probably 50 feet away, and she's like, Lord's calling us to go over to talk to him. I don't usually go out to them. I make them come to us. That's one of my safety features for the group. And she's like, we need to go over and talk with him. And I'm like, all right, we'll go over. And I started to walk over, and she goes, oh, no, wait, the Lord wants him to come closer to us. And I'm like, okay. So we waited, and he came closer. And he was very delusional. But he knew enough in his head that he was like, I really need prayer because my head's not working right. And so we just prayed over him. And the next week he came back, and he actually got in the line. And then he's come back several times, and his head's cleared up, and he's functioning.
Nice. That's so cool.
We've had a lot of people. I had one guy come back just a few months ago, and I was standing up by myself, and he goes, do you remember me? I was here a couple months ago. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, you gave me a coat because I was cold. He goes, but you didn't know I was suicidal. But you prayed with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that like the most?
Yeah. I mean, he was like, I'm working. I'm not suicidal. I'm doing great. I have an apartment.
Wow.
All because you prayed.
I assume that's probably the most impactful, like, powerful part of this is the stories. Those moments where
the stories.
It was like, you didn't know this, but clearly God did.
Yeah.
And so
we have a lot of stories. Letitia's probably my favorite, and she's been there, I think, since like the second or third week that we started, and she's a meth head, prostitute, thief. I've watched her go up and down the whole 2 years. Up and down, and been suicidal, been really to the bottom, but always comes back for prayer. And she now has an apartment. She's no longer using drugs. She's no longer working the street. She's got disability and getting mental health assistance. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And she comes down and volunteers now. So now we're starting, after 2 years, I have the people that we've worked with coming down to help. And so Letitia comes down, and she sorts like all the clothes and the shoes that we're giving out, and organizes and keep people in line. And then we have Johnny, who he is not a drug addict. He gave up drugs in '95, but he was homeless and living on the street. And he's like, I'd really like to mow lawns. So we got him a lawnmower and a weed whacker and gasoline and a wagon, and delivered it to his little area that he lived in, and he started cutting grass. And that was 2 years ago. And now he has an apartment. He works 2 jobs, and he takes Thursday nights off so he can come and volunteer and pray with us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what has all of these, all these encounters and all of this, how has that impacted your relationship with God?
Oh, definitely strengthened. I think that my lack of confidence in my faith has gone away. And holy boldness is like someone said the other day. I said, yeah, I was praying and the Lord was like, you need more, I'm going to give you more boldness. And I was like, really? And my friend's like you need more? I'm like, I know, it's just happened. I mean, I'll just walk up to anyone and just start talking to them. So it's definitely, those things have definitely changed.
Wow, that's so cool. So where can people find you, learn more about what you're doing, and support your ministry?
So our ministry, we're online, and it's called Ministries.com. And we're kind of expanding. We're developing an evangelization group that's not with the homeless, but in parishes. And that's called Urban Renewal. So that's going to be hopefully growing. So I think that the evangelization part is what's really the Lord's pushing us to do. And he just tells me what to do. So that's happening. Napa Blankets, there's a lot of ways people can help. They can donate financially because I buy Bibles and sacramentals, and that costs money. Sometimes I have to buy people shoes, usually spring and fall, because they'll be wearing out their shoes and it's time to switch. And if I don't have the donations, then I buy them. Then I also take blankets and used blankets. I always tell people, go through their house, declutter. So blankets and tarps, and what else do we give? Flashlights. During the winter, hats, gloves, socks, hand warmers. That's for winter. During the summer, it's mostly light blankets, and then we do snack bags. So we always give them snacks. So that's a big thing. My partner, Becky, she does that every week. So she'll put together like crackers and some kind of like IV,
like the liquid
liquid IV, and protein drink, something healthy in there, and we give that to them every week. So that's another big thing. I know at our church, the Acts group, 2 or 3 times a year, they'll put a bunch of those bags together for us. And recently the homeschoolers did it, where they put snack bags together for us. So that's another big thing, because that gets expensive. And then, I think that's, if you want to volunteer, we can teach you. Any of my lead people will be encounter trained. People that aren't encounter trained, you're just matched up, and you just do intercessory prayer and learn more as you go. But it's, people know that they really go on relationship, and they'll come back looking for you. Mm-hmm. I prayed with you last week, and I'll tell you a quick story. So Sam and Rebecca. Sam got out of jail. He was in prison for 16 years for felony for selling drugs. And Rebecca, he met on the street. And the first week they came, and they said, hey, we want to get out of the shelter. Could you pray over us? And I was like, sure. So we prayed. The next week I was getting out of my car, because I drive my car into the lot and open it up with everything. I opened my door and he comes running at me. And we don't like runners because you don't know what they're doing. And she's right next to him, and they're like, you need to pray with us right now. And I'm like, well, we're going to start in a few minutes. He goes, no, you need to pray with us now. You prayed with us last week, and we got job interviews. So you need to pray for these job interviews. I'm like, okay, we'll pray. So I prayed with him. So the next week, same thing. They come running after me. You need to pray with us again. We get the jobs. He goes, I'm going to make $21.75 an hour as a forklift driver. And she got a job as a counselor. And we're going to start our jobs next week. We need you to pray because we need a house. And started talking to him, but this time he was in front of the line. And I should say the first week we had 7 people. We're at 50 people a night that we pray with. So there was 50 people in line, and he turns to the crowd and starts testifying about how the prayers of God have changed his life.
Whoa.
And that he now has a job. He has, she has a job. They've, I was in prison, and, I gave it all up. The Lord is so good. I mean, just went on. At that time, I wasn't smart enough to grab a camera. But they're the ones actually on my website that I had them do a quick one, their testimony. So now they live in College Hill. They both work, and are doing great.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that story. I feel like this whole conversation has just been very inspiring. So I'm looking forward to hearing what people think, and also how they jump in and share, or maybe express interest in joining the team. So thank you for coming on and sharing the story.
Yeah, well, we look forward to it, and thank you for having me.